JonBenet Ramsey case? Who wrote the ransom note? Come on in. You really don't have much of a choice. We're going to take a look at the ransom note and how smart the person was that wrote the ransom note. Were they a genius? Were they a little brighter than the average light bulb? Were they average? Were they a little dimmer than the average light bulb? Or were they a moron? Now we have the advantage of hindsight in looking back at this. Now going back to Christmas night or the following morning, either John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, or an intruder wants to convey with this note what happened to JonBenet. Did a foreign faction get her? Were they going to deny them her remains for a proper burial? And so we're going to look at some of the facts of the case and see if they did a good job of going about this. It's my understanding that John Ramsey took this photograph Christmas morning when he took the pictures of JonBenet and Burke opening presents, and it just happens to have a visual of Patsy's notebook. So right there, circled in blue, is Patsy Ramsey's personal notepad, and the felt tip pen used to write the note matched a pen found in a cup in the Ramsey's kitchen. No fingerprints were found on the note, though Patsy said she found it on the back stairs. Police found the note on the hardwood floor. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the Donkey Division, found by comparing tear patterns that the first 12 pages of the notepad were missing, and pages 13 through 16 contained doodles and lists and some miscellaneous writing. But the next group of pages, 17 through 25, were also missing from the tablet. The following page, 26, was the practice ransom note that stated Mr. and Mrs., and that page showed evidence of ink bleeding through from the missing page 25. Comparisons of the ragged tops of the ransom note pages with the remnants left in the tablet provided that it had come from pages 27, 28, and 29. Furthermore, the ink bleed-through discovered on 26 indicated that perhaps still another practice note could have been written on page 25. So the question is, how intelligent was the author of the ransom note and that person using Patsy's notepad for the ransom? And how intelligent are we looking at it and trying to figure out what that tells us? In an earlier episode, I said that they should have just went and got a new sheet of paper somewhere for the ransom note. Last night when I thought about this, it seemed to me it was obviously written by Patsy Ramsey. Who else is going to go to the middle of her notepad and pull out papers to write the ransom note on? But then I started thinking, maybe John could have done that. Again, trying to point the finger at Patsy if he got in trouble with the police when they discovered JonBenet's body. But then if John could do that, then so could an intruder. So I got nowhere. it looks clear that the author of the ransom note wrote the note inside the notepad, so they were comfortable writing inside that notepad. So that really points the finger at Patsy. But again, John could have easily done the same thing. And then they tore out the 3 pages and placed them wherever they placed them. So this leads to the intelligence of the author of the ransom note. Doesn't she realize that at some point the police are going to trace the ransom note back to her notepad? And so if Patsy wrote it, she just made a goof there. But if John wrote it, he could have been, because he's the one that actually turned the notepad over to the police when they asked for handwriting samples for both him and his wife. So who wrote the ransom note? Well, it's so obvious that Patsy Ramsey wrote the ransom note. But prove it. That's what people will say, prove it. Some intruder could have broken into their house in the middle of the night and wrote that 2.5-page ransom note. And how can you prove that Patsy did write the ransom note, even though it was in her notepad with her pen placed back in its holder? And there's no fingerprints on it. But there's no fingerprints on it. So that doesn't prove that Patsy did it, or John did it, or an intruder did it. And either one of them, I guess, was wearing gloves or something. Or they just didn't leave a print. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved. And tomorrow night, the Zodiac Killer case, where I might just solve it someday. See ya.